Accessibility across the Northwest. This is a joint presentation with University of Washington Bothell, Boise State University, and University of Montana. Okay, presenters. So that's me, Learning Technologist and IT Accessibility Liaison at the University of Washington Bothell, and we are under IT. Then there's Betty Miller right here. She's online faculty technology manager, self-support programs for the nursing department. And School of Nursing, Boise State University. Marlene Zentz right here, a senior instructional designer, accessibility specialist for UM Online and University of Montana. And our famous Erin Page, accessibility specialist, the accessible technology services at UM Online and University of Montana. Okay, so I'll get started with my part, which is going to be a short version of my earlier presentation. So at University of Washington Bothell, we came up with this acronym UDAL to address some of the issues that have been experiencing, and there was no program on campus addressing this directly. We were integrating UDL, or Universal Design for Learning, in just little areas, but this allowed us to work more broadly and create programs. So we're working in conjunction with the Seattle campus in a lot of our efforts, but this specific initiative is for the Bothell campus. So in UDAL, we unite Universal Design and Active Learning, and we're joining research and best practices from Universal Design for Learning with adding emphasis on student engagement and flexible spaces. So it includes the classroom furniture. Setup, layout, and activities, that type of thing. So, and we want to make sure there's equitable access to electronic materials, use of best practices in course design and pedagogies, and student active learning and engagement. And the UW Bothell Learning Technologists website has more information on that. Okay, some of the things that we've been working on, we have had an active learning day with several messages going out, tips for different tools we're already using with integrated accessibility principles in them. So people from the get-go could practice and see those. Pretty much it's like, this is how you do this versus this is how you make it accessible, right? So we're skipping part of that conversation in a lot of things. So also, we've been sending out a monthly tip. It could be alt text. It could be just how easily you can change your syllabus, some of the things you can do to make your syllabus more accessible. So just little tips that won't take very long to read. So also, all of our courses and all of the things we're doing, we're also using the Quality Matter standards. And if you like, we can share this presentation. Just let us know. I think they're going to call for all the slides for people who want to share. But this is just an example of using the standard 8 in a Canvas course, demonstrating that a course in the LMS can be colorful, can be very visually appealing, and it can be accessible as well. It is possible to have both. Okay. Also, we use the University Poll Everywhere for our classroom response systems. And in our tips, we also include things like, for example, if you create a question and for the answer choices, you have images, then to make that universally accessible, in the question include the images descriptions. For example, so let's say, what fruit do you like the least? And then you like a banana, an apple, and a strawberry, for example. So at the top, the questions you say, which fruit do you like the least? A, and list the fruit. B, list what it is, and C. So someone that can't see the image, they still can answer the question. Okay. So also, we are integrating these principles in student support materials. For example, we have pages for how to create Canvas e-portfolios. And we've done some specific one for programs for our first year program, and in which we go through the process, how they create their pages and their sections that fit the program for Discovery Core. And as we go through the examples, we go to the headings, and we show them how to add them and where they are located. And then below that, then using headings, talks a little bit about user headings, just a short paragraph, and after that, why headings? Talking about a little bit why they're important with information if they would like to follow into the CAS.org website or UDL website. So also, one thing that we added new was some of the instructions we have for students to upload videos to YouTube, to use it as part of an assignment, how they can do that and how they can caption it easily. And that's part of it, and even an explanation why that is important as well. Also, we're working with all three campuses, Seattle, Bothell, and Tacoma, creating an IT accessibility liaisons force, which the end goal for this is to have representatives eventually at each department that will be the accessibility contact for that department. And they will get training and support, and they will also be able to pass that on to their people in their department. And then the other thing was the UDAL core group, which we put together last year. Oh, that will come in a little bit. So, and I will talk in another slide about that. So, example of flexible classroom spaces. For the past year, we have had input, and we have a faculty committee work on changing out a couple of classrooms. And it ended up being one classroom was actually changed because we came to an agreement on what they wanted and what was feasible, and money was always an issue there. So we initially had $20,000, and amazingly, like over $5,000 went to just maintenance for some installation cost. So we're going, oh my gosh, this is not going to go very far. And we ended up putting in for a grant, and we got a $75,000 grant to be able to fully furnish a classroom. So make sure it's accessible, plug and play, make sure that it can be flexible to and easily to change configuration and put it back, and can fit multiple teaching styles. So to go something from this, and this is the original classroom, right, to, sorry, he went back, to this with the new furniture. And this room will be done by the end of June. Some of the things, because again, the limitations on funding was that there's a projector in that room that is fairly new. So it's still projecting to the front, so that part is not movable, not yet in this iteration. And also the screen is on the front. But all of the other materials, will be flexible. We have areas for students to hang up those little whiteboards. They're portable, and they can be clipped in the middle or on the side of tables. They can also be hung on the sides of tables. And they can use both sides of it as well for any type of group work. Okay, and oh my gosh, there we go. So the UDAL core group that I mentioned before, at Bothell, we're working on some things that like develop web accessibility support materials in Kentigo, which is our CMS, and the person who developed that is one of the members of the core group, and we have created an accessibility checklist. As also, we've had a couple of ARIA workshops for developers to make sure that elements in a page can be recognized by a screen reader correctly. For example, a menu or a button. If they're not specifically addressed with ARIA, then the screen reader may skip over that. So also, there is that Global Accessibility Awareness Day that is May 18th. And we're going to have a whole week of events, including we're going to have, starting out on Monday, Dr. Cheryl Brokstaller from Do It at the Seattle campus. She's going to come and speak to kick it off the event. Accessibility lessons again. We're also working on accessibility inventory database of all of the tools used on campus. And that's going to be put on a centralized database for all three campuses. So we're going to have VPATs, including and other information regarding accessibility. And we just got approved for an accessibility domain, which we'll be starting to put together the materials and the content pretty soon. Okay, so now Betty Miller.
Nice job. I'm Betty Miller. I'm from Boise State University School of Nursing, and we've been working on our journey of, graduating students. Actually, in a few weeks, we will have hit the mark of graduating 1,000 online nursing students. Simultaneously, through the past 5 years, I've been on my own journey about accessibility and universal design for our online courses so that we can support any student who comes to our program, whether they have a vision, hearing, or actual physical, mobile limitation. So what I wanted to do was share one of the key things about my journey that I've had, and that's about having sustainability in our departments at our universities, that in order to proceed with accessibility and do the right thing, if you want that to stick around and to become a normal part of the landscape, you have to take a look at budgets, you have to take a look at job descriptions, and what kind of people you're bringing on board. So, building our infrastructure. Right away, we knew from literature that having accessibility accounted for in an online program was key. Lots in the literature, lots at conferences, webinars. So we felt, okay, how are our online courses? Where do we stand? So we conducted an audit of our courses. We found that we were doing what you could call D work, like A, B, C, or D. We found that only 60% of our courses actually were accessible. So that provided for us a roadmap of work to do over the next 2 to 3 years of all the repairs that we would need to make. Quickly, we found that people on our team, we were structured like a general university department where they give you an administrative assistant and an administrative assistant too. They did not plan for having technical people on your team. So right away, we started building, I guess I would say organically with myself, building relationships across campus, seeking people with technology talents to share with me what I needed to do. And then I was able to expand and develop a team by building in hiring student instructional technologists. And most importantly, securing a budget for them. But I just wanted to highlight, when you're looking at accessibility and usability online for an online course, you're going to delve into closed captioning. You'll need to take a look at your learning management system, whether it be Blackboard or Canvas, and evaluate if your courses have chosen the appropriate tools. And also, the behind-the-scene work for the courses include a lot of file maintenance, because once you correct and repair an item, you need to track it and know that it is done and ready to go. And of course, courses always have new content coming in. So lastly, we looked at our faculty who are developing these courses, and we needed to share with them some of the basics about accessibility. But long story short, through our journey, what we found is it's more efficient to build a team of instructional technologists, find the problems, repair the problems, then share with your faculty, this is what we have corrected for you. Wow. Faculty then respond that I didn't realize this was so complex. You put a lot of time and effort into it, and now you're telling me that you're all sticking around and that you'll service me in the future. Lesson learned there. So some of the groundwork, and if you would like to contact me after the session, I could share with you some of the language we started including in all of our job descriptions, whether it was for a full-time or a part-time worker. Shortly after doing that, I started seeing a trend on campus at Boise State where they were also using similar language. I've also conferred with my colleagues here from University of Montana and Washington, and sure enough, it's becoming a general thing to get key items into your job descriptions about staying abreast of WCAG 2.0, about looking for people who have the ability to work with multiple software and use advanced tools, et cetera, et cetera. So hiring student instructional technologists. The key to bringing in and making sure that you have a support team that can help is by essentially training them on what they need to do. So another tip that we found is once you start repairing your courses, document all of your procedures and processes. That way, when students graduate and new ones come in, you already have, your 54-page booklet covering 8 key processes that's organized. Additionally, when working with multimedia, software is constantly changing. Personally, I have worked with from Kaltura now to TechSmith, which is kind of like your in-house YouTube publishing. Number one, we do not use YouTube. We keep all of our content from Boise State on our in-house servers. Additionally, faculty who look for content outside the university, online, through the internet, what I'm finding is that large organizations who are in the education business, they themselves do not know how to properly publish their content to YouTube. They'll just publish using the default attributes, and that attribute is not a Creative Commons license that can be shared. So, and again, you need a team who is aware of and can work on copyright, tracking down, getting copyright, so that then you can close caption items and whatnot. I did just want to share quickly, for example, so this is one legacy document. Like I say, we have a book of about 56 different processes now. And what it is for is because technology changes and then your staff is going to change. But everything starts with looking at a course and auditing it. So one, you have to have your program coordinator who is overseeing the faculty and the courses. And you kind of need to show your people this flow chart that, okay, you're dedicated to accessibility, therefore you're giving permission to our team to come in. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at all of your content. We are going to document it in a nice spreadsheet that shares with you all of the problems, and then we're going to present that to you. And then we're going to share with you our plans of how we will repair that. So again, here you have your auditing team. We have a crew of 4 people. We identify these problems. We then share them with the faculty who control the course and manage the course. And we just proceed to say, we are now going to repair these items. Would you like us to just do it for you? Or would you like to be involved etc. By the end of these consultations with faculty, and I've conducted about 22 of them now, probably with 10 faculty, but 22 courses. By the end of the consultation, they're just so impressed with how complex it is to make an accessible course. And they allow us to continue and go forward. But again, just about sustainability and stability, when you're advocating accessibility and you start working with your directors and your deans, the more documents you can share with them, the more workflows, that's going to help you get going where you need to go. And it's going to make them feel good about the money they need to spend. And currently, we spend about $25,000 a year to pay for 2 student instructional technologists. And people are accepting that. They're building it in. So I'm just very optimistic about accessibility, universal design and learning becoming more mainstream. It's just the way of the present and the future. So I wish you good luck on your journeys. And if you are leading an initiative, just know you can play an important role to be an advocate, to do things right, and to express that. Again, I say focus on your budget, job description, share the processes of what it takes, keep your commitment with you, realize that it's not an overnight process. You cannot complete everything quickly. It takes many years, depending on how many courses you have. So you have to be a champion. And I must say it's been very rewarding for me for the past 5 years working on accessibility. And I think I have about 50 colleagues now, professional colleagues that are across my campus that I work with, and it's just been very satisfying. So I hope you have fun with that. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yes?
How do you deal with your student workers and
We all do that certification. Actually, we do it yearly. Also, they are not looking at live courses. There are no students enrolled, because that's the other key thing is how do you preserve all of your prepared courses? You need to have a master course site, and that master course site, of course, has no students, and that's, how we handle that. Good question. Okay, then I'm going to hand it over to Marlene Zentz.
So I'm Marlene Zentz, and Erin Page is presenting with me. We've been busy at the University of Montana, as you might imagine. I'm going to talk about the massive open online course we're developing, and then we're going to go into STEM content, and Erin will take it over with that. So let me just go right into, we'll go right into the MOOC and not just look at pictures of it. So here's the MOOC that we are building. I really appreciated what David said in his keynote yesterday. He said that open resources take funding, and we feel really lucky. A funder came to us, Moodle Rooms, last summer, and they said, we need to be able to get the word out on how to use the learning management system accessibly and effectively. And we were asked to design this MOOC for a very broad audience, for K-12 educators, for higher ed, for businesses that use the LMS for training purposes. So it's a very broad audience. Our only limitation, it hasn't been translated into Spanish, but it will be advertised internationally to the English-speaking people for now, but we're hoping it'll get translated eventually. So anyway, that was our charge, to create a massive open online course, and we built it in Moodle Rooms. It's still under construction, so you're going to see it with turn editing on. You might as well just see that view of it. but our principles apply to any LMS. So it's a very broad discussion of universal design for learning and accessibility in an LMS, not just Moodle rooms. So it doesn't matter what LMS you're using. We are encouraging people to consider participating in this free opportunity. And I'll give you more of the timeline when we get done looking at it. For us, the problem it addressed for us is that Aaron and I over and over and over again give workshops, and we're always starting from ground zero and building upward. And now we're developing a product where we won't have to just continually be starting from scratch. And we were only reaching a very small geographic area. So we will be able to reach a larger area. Moodle Rooms and it's really Blackboard, but Blackboard bought Moodle Rooms. I'm saying Moodle Rooms, but it's really Blackboard that's behind this. We stood our ground on saying there needed to be teacher presence in this MOOC. We didn't want an unmoderated MOOC without any tone and ambiance and a way to ask questions. So they agreed to that too, that it would be a moderated MOOC, a 4-week moderated MOOC. So we will have teacher presence there. We had some goals as we started building this, and we did a lot of talking and planning before we ever opened the LMS, really. We had money in our contract to hire a videographer, a media artist, so those are students from the University of Montana. And then we also hired Rick Hughes, who is the Director of Academic Affairs for our particular school. I call him he's a media artist instructor, faculty member, but I call him a design philosopher. And we just had a lot of discussions with him because we wanted ease of navigation. We wanted everything to be easy to find, in chunks so that people could go directly to a piece of information that they really wanted to learn about. We wanted it to be elegant. I think you were talking, Betty, about the fact that you can have an accessible course and it can still be really beautiful and elegant. I've seen some courses early on, 2 decades ago, that were accessible, but they were really, they were missing elegance back in the day. We wanted to avoid clutter. That's not good course design, and it's very difficult for a lot of people with and without disabilities. We also wanted everything to be to demonstrate universal design for learning, not just talk about it. So, and in our delivery, we'll also demonstrate how to deliver an online course thinking about universal design for learning principles, which means we'll always be looking at multiple means of engagement, multiple means of representation, and multiple means of expression. So with that being said, try not to take too much time on that. You can see we've got the title of the course, and this may be changed. They're designing the whole marketing part of it right now, and that may change to Blackboard Accessibility MOOC. That's happening on their end. But notice, this is a heading 1. We're in an open source theme called Snap. It was developed in Moodle Rooms. It was a born accessible theme, and we chose that theme because it has kind of a web-like look and feel, and I've surveyed our students, and they prefer this Snap theme. So we designed in that, and that heading 1, Moodle Rooms Accessibility MOOC, is a link on every page in this MOOC that takes you back to the home page. So every page has an automatic heading 1 in this theme. So that's really nice. Then we didn't want a million topics. And you can see books is not available, that 8th one. That's where we build our content. For students, that they won't see that 8th topic. So basically, we have a course overview where we introduce people to the course and welcome them. And you'll see that we go into 3 different areas in each topic in a minute. But then we go into text, data, images, audio and video, and then uploaded content like PowerPoint and Word. And the last is just additional resources for them. So we kept it very succinct, we hope. Let's just look at one topic. So, see if I can navigate with this screen of yours. So Rick really thought we should have an aspirational video to open every topic. And an aspirational video for us is a way of engaging people and just getting them focused on what this topic is going to be about. So and they're short, so I'll just play this for you. Text plays a major role in online course design. Thoughtful use of text can improve the reading experience and make course navigation clearer for everyone. Therefore, this topic examines properly structured text headings, text styles and formats, and descriptive text hyperlinks. So that will be captioned. I have a big captioning job because we wanted to teach with multimedia. We thought multiple means of representation was really critical. I didn't turn the captions on because I haven't gotten to that yet. Whoops, sorry. Text. You'll see this hide show eye. That is going to be a way to hide or show the transcript. Some people prefer the transcript, but they don't all have to have that in view. Aaron, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, just to your point, we wanted to make this course as useful and as accessible to everybody as possible, and some learners learn best in different ways. You know, I myself, as a blind person, I don't tend to find video content very helpful. I can read that text in about 3 seconds with my screen reader, and so I would prefer to have access to it. And so we came up with this solution. I'm creating some custom JavaScript that when you click on that icon, it will show or hide that transcript text. The visual part of it is already working. That was actually very easy to do. The part that we're still hammering out is getting it to automatically read out by the screen reader when you activate that control. Right now, we've got it working in Firefox, Chrome, IE if you're using NVDA, and it doesn't work on the Mac at all. So once we get that automatic readout with the screen reader, we'll have that fully functional way for, if you want the video, great. If you would rather have access and read it, the text transcript, you'll have that choice as well.
Great, thank you, Aaron. So then, you're seeing the edit section, but the students won't see that. Then they go down into focus areas. Every topic has just 3 focus areas. So there's consistency. You can see how we really hammered out the consistency across topics. So we said in the aspirational video we were going to talk about these 3 topics. So there is a place for people to go and learn about those. If I go to this topic on text layout, we chose books as the tool in Moodle because books have a table of contents already organized there for us. We have an introduction and a conclusion in every chapter, and we tried to keep these chapters to not have too much scrolling. Sometimes there is more scrolling that we just couldn't avoid, but we really worked on trying to make sure we're very concise with our text and very consistent with our naming and trying to not kind of wander on and make it difficult for people to locate the information they needed. Then we decided to provide a way to navigate back to the home page, but in addition, a way to navigate back to the topic, because we're in the topic. So we created our own navigation. In addition to this heading 1, they can also just navigate back to the topic of text. And every book in every one of these topics has a navigate back to topic icon for navigation. And then we have activities, and the whole MOOC will be opened at once, but we will be present. We have a calendar, so like in week 1, we'll be present in the activities for text. And so we decided to make meaningful activities, assignments that are meaningful and not busy work for the people that want a certificate of completion. So we decided that we would help them they could request a course shell, and it's very simple for them to do. If they just come down here, they just come in and fill out a form and they can get a shell. And then they can practice every time we hit like images, they can practice and demonstrate their skills working with images. And then at the end of the MOOC, we'll set up a workshop in Moodle. A workshop is a tool that allows peers to evaluate other peers' work and give feedback. So we'll have them get feedback from their peers. So in the first assignment, it's to request the course and then to play with text. And we're not telling them how much text or what text. They should make it meaningful for them. And we are going to be doing research, and IRB-approved research so that the artifacts will be those course shells along with some other things. You can see we've got a questionnaire for early feedback, and that's just 7 really, Aaron and I hammered out those questions. We didn't want too many, but we'll get feedback there, and at the end that will be part of our research. There's a practice quiz, just so they can get feedback and see if they got the skills. We have an online office hour every week. We wanted teacher presence, so we're in Collaborate Ultra for that. And then there's a forum where they can ask questions, talk to each other, talk to us, make sure that they are clear on that particular topic. So all the topics are organized like that. I'm going to go to additional resources. Oh, it's already open. It opened so quick. So this is the URL where Blackboard will be announcing information about the MOOC. And I know Anna had Global Accessibility Awareness Day on one of your slides. They are going to make the big announcement about this MOOC on Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And that's the place, one of the places that you'll be able to get information if you want to sign up to attend a MOOC. We are doing a soft launch, a pilot in June, and we're looking for participants who would want to do the 4-week course and give us feedback. We got some really great volunteers at the CSUN conference in San Diego a few weeks ago, and we have about 20 people right now. But if you would like to participate in the pilot, we would love to have you. So just let us know. You can come up and see us afterwards, or you'll get our email addresses also when we're done. So the pilot is going to happen in June. Then we have a couple months to revise based on the feedback, and then we'll offer it this fall and then in January. So we're really, really excited about that. And then we're hoping we'll just keep rolling with this, and we just keep looking at the feedback and editing and refining what we have. So that's our MOOC. Aaron, I'm going to hand this to you, and I'll navigate for you.
All righty, thank you. All right, microphone in one hand, keyboard in the other. Let's see how this works out. So one thing I just want to also mention about the MOOC that Marlene didn't mention is, so in the various focus areas that we have, like headings and lists, tables, text styling, what have you, we have demonstration videos with 3 different assistive technologies. So for example, in the headings book, you can there's an actual video where I, using my screen reader, demonstrate how headings matter, how I use those to navigate around a page. In the images book, we have a demonstration video with screen magnification where you can actually see how when you magnify text within an image, it distorts. In descriptive links, we have a demonstration video from a gentleman who uses Dragon Naturally Speaking to control the computer with speech, demonstrating how descriptive links make it much easier for him to interact with content. So all of the principles that we discuss in this course, we also have these videos that demonstrate how those principles are actually used by users of assistive technology, which I think is a very powerful thing about our course. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn to the topic of STEM content accessibility. This is something that we also cover in our MOOC. So Marlene, if you want to make your way to the working with data topic, and we'll open the STEM content book, we will get going.
I'm there.
You are way ahead of me. Okay, so first, let's define some key terms, and then I'm going to talk about math content, how it's handled by some different learning management systems. So the first key term we have up there is LaTeX. So LaTeX, it's a document preparation system for high-quality typesetting. It's commonly used in mathematic and scientific communities. I literally copy that from their website. That is their definition. So MathML. MathML, it's a markup language that can be used to present math content on the web. So with HTML, you can create text and buttons and hyperlinks and that kind of thing. With MathML, you can create math content on the web. And then Mathjax. So Mathjax, it's a JavaScript engine. It uses CSS, web fonts, and SVG graphics to display math content in browsers. Mathjax is really essential because pretty much all of the major browser vendors have given up on having their own native MathML support. So if you want that math content to be visible, then you have to have Mathjax in between. There are some definite advantages to Mathjax. So some of those Mathjax include that there's a MathML layer that allows the content to be read out by screen reading software. The SVG graphic, it scales well, so you can zoom into it without any distortion or pixelation. You can copy and paste the Mathjax equations into other documents or programs like Microsoft Word and that kind of thing. And then also those Mathjax equations, they're going to appear consistently across web browsers. Earlier on, when some of the browsers were trying to support MathML, you would find that it would look very different depending on the browser that you're in. So Mathjax just really makes that consistent. So Canvas, Desire to Learn, and Moodle, all three of them now, with their built-in equation editing functionality, they will all automatically render their equations using Mathjax. So equations that are created in those learning management systems with their built-in equation editors, those will be accessible to users of screen reading software. They will support that functionality such as synchronized highlighting. That you'll be able to zoom in on them, copy and paste them, all those great benefits. So let's see. In the MOOC, we've actually set up some page with examples of some various equations, and we have audio clips showing you how those equations are being read out by a screen reader. So Marlene, if you've got the equation examples page pulled up, we'll go ahead and we'll play the quadratic formula.
X equals fraction b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4c over 2 math content.
So you may have noticed right at the end of there, it announced that out as math content. That's a really important thing because that means that the assistive technology has recognized it as math. So you can use the math navigation tools such as synchronized highlighting, navigating by term and by expression, those type of things.
And I might mention too, when Aaron and I do workshops, we're always explaining this stuff over and over, and we've never had really good examples for us. So making this MOOC allowed us to create the multimedia to demonstrate our points and not have to be constantly trying to recreate the multimedia that is really needed here.
You bet. So we got two more examples on there. Let's listen to the first fundamental theorem of calculus.
F left parent x right parent equals integral subscript 0 superscript 1 x squared dx equals x cubed over 3 vertical bar subscript 0 superscript 1 equals 1/3 minus 0 equals 1/3.
And then we've got a simple one here at the end, just a simple fraction that contains an exponent in the numerator.
X cubed over y math content.
So you could probably tell listening to those, it takes a while to learn. I mean, it takes you years just to learn how to listen to the screen reader. I think it would take you years more to learn how to listen to the screen reader reading out math. But all of these equations, because they're being rendered out by Mathjax, they were recognized as math content by the screen reader. If I was using a screen reader that supports Nemeth Braille output, Nemeth is Braille math for those of you who don't know. So popular screen readers like JAWS, non-visual desktop access, VoiceOver on your Mac and iOS devices, they all support exporting math content in Nemeth Braille on a refreshable Braille display. That is a huge cost savings. My vocational rehabilitation coordinator had told me that they have paid over $10,000 to convert one math text alone. So having just free access to that math content is pretty amazing.
Sorry, can you tell us where that is again?
Where what is?
That you said access to that. It translates it. You're saying in Braille it translates it, or is it
Yeah.
technology that does it?
Yeah, so you would use a device called a refreshable Braille display. Plugged in like on USB, or you can get ones that are Bluetooth. And it essentially has a series of Braille cells that come up and down to form whatever Braille characters it needs. And so if you had one of those devices connected while the screen reader is reading out that equation would actually be showing up as Braille mathematics on that refreshable Braille display. You wouldn't have to do any kind of converting, no running it through Duxbury or anything like that. It just works.
And how long does it take? This is Amanda. I'm just thinking how long it must take somebody to learn all this.
Yeah. I've been using the screen reader for about 7 years now. I went blind a little over 7 years ago. And I still learn new things about it all the time.
Well, I'm just thinking as a math professor, people struggle with 100% sight, let alone, I mean, it's auditory, it's...
Right? And this is just reading the equations. We haven't even gotten to, writing the equations, which unfortunately we won't be talking about during this presentation. But there are some products that we know of coming down the pipeline that, could finally provide the solution for that. Pearson's got one in particular we're keeping our eyes on. So anybody here using Learn? Blackboard Learn? Yes, no, maybe so? Yes. Okay. So this doesn't work for you. Sorry.
I'm sure they're working on it.
So Blackboard Learn has a different way that it goes about handling math content. So Blackboard Learn actually uses an equation editor created by a company called Wirus. Wirus, I think I'm pronouncing their name right. Their equation editor, some advantages to it, it's very robust. It's got a lot of functionality. You can create really complex equations, more so than you can usually in like Canvas, Moodle, D2L, unless you're actually putting LaTeX directly into it. The problem in terms of accessibility with what Wirus does is, whereas Canvas, Moodle, D2L, they use Mathjax, which provides that MathML layer, so all the assistive technologies' native math functionality is supported. Wirus, what it actually does is it shoots back, because it's all server-based, so it shoots back to the end user an SVG image that has an alt tag attached to it, and the alt tag describes that equation, exactly how it would be read by the screen reader. But the problem with that is so it's an image, it's not math content. So that math navigation functionality, such as navigating by term or by expression, isn't supported. And if you were connected to a refreshable Braille display, you actually aren't going to see numbers and symbols. You're going to see letters and words. So instead of 1 + 1 = 2, it's ONE+ONE spelled out in Braille. So it's much less efficient when you don't actually have that MathML content and that math functionality.
Good to know.
Yeah. And we actually did have an opportunity to meet with somebody from Wirus at the Moodle Moot last summer. And they were saying that MathML is something that they are starting to look at, especially now that so many more assistive technologies have support for it. Let's see, move down my notes here. So now I want to just briefly talk about how this accessible math functionality, how it fits into our overall math strategy at the University of Montana. This for me is particularly exciting because as a student, I changed my major as a way of avoiding math. When I started, I was a computer science major, and just to get through college algebra 1, I had to work with a sighted tutor, reader / scribe about 16 hours a week, just to get through that college algebra class, because none of the content in that class could be made accessible. The online homework wasn't, the textbook wasn't, the handouts weren't, the stuff written on the board wasn't, none of it was. So I think had this technology been available several years back, my decision would have possibly been different. So as you saw, the LMS, any math content that you create using the tools in the LMS, it is automatically going to be made accessible. But what about content that's not created in the LMS? What do you do there? So we have kind of two options for this. So number one is a product called Mathtype. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with it, Mathtype is a product created by a company called Design Science. It can be used to create accessible math equations, and it's supported by a lot of different applications, pretty much all of the Office suite, so you can create accessible math equations in Word and PowerPoint and that kind of thing. And so if you're a math instructor and you're creating your documents, handouts, your materials in a program like Microsoft Word, we will provide you with Mathtype, and you can use the Mathtype equation editor to make those equations that you create in Word accessible. Generally speaking, we've only really found that kind of lower level math courses are creating it in Word. Higher level math courses are using LaTeX. So we have a separate approach for dealing with LaTeX. So we worked with one of our math faculty to set up a product called LaTeX ML. LaTeX ML, it's a free open source product. Anybody can go and get it. But it's a direct conversion tool. It will take the text source documents and convert that into HTML plus MathML. It's really a nice, effective solution. A lot of the other solutions that are out there for doing this kind of conversion, most of the ways that they like to work is they actually will have you save the LaTeX as a PDF, and then it will OCR the PDF and convert that into HTML plus MathML. Anybody who's used OCR can probably tell you that OCR usually never gets it all right, and even one slight mistake in math can be detrimental. So that, that rate of error just wasn't acceptable. With LaTeX ML, it's much more efficient, it's much more accurate. Let's see. So one problem with LaTeX ML, it's very hard to get it up and running. I'd like to think of myself as a technologist, but I'm not, I don't know about Perl and those type of things. It's hard to spin this up, but we were able to get that done. The other kind of complication with it is LaTeX ML doesn't necessarily support all of the LaTeX packages that are out there. So in some cases, you have to actually convert that, or you have to tweak the text source document. The math faculty that we work with on this, he refers to that as vanilla LaTeX, converting that into a vanilla LaTeX. But once you've got it converted into that vanilla LaTeX, you run it through LaTeX ML, boom, you have an HTML plus MathML document. Those MathML equations can be read out by an assistive technology that supports MathML. So here's kind of the workflow that we've set up, and bear in mind we've just kind of started doing this, so I'm sure that this is going to get refined over time, but kind of the way that it works right now is, so number one, the student requests the alternative format from the alternative format coordinator, and that's the end of what the student has to do. They request that alternative format. Then our alternative format coordinator will contact the student instructor and the math faculty member who does these conversions, because like we said, it kind of requires knowledge of LaTeX in order to do this. So that math faculty actually has agreed to be responsible for performing those conversions. So the alternative formats coordinator gets in touch with the instructor and with the math faculty who will do the conversion. They get the text source document from the instructor and give that to the math faculty to convert. He performs any changes that need to be done to make that vanilla LaTeX to where it can go ahead and convert correctly. He then goes ahead and converts that and sends that over to us at Accessible Technology Services, where usually me, I will go in and I will open up that document using the screen reader, make sure that it's reading, that it's identifying the math content correctly. And I actually will create an audio recording of how that document is being read out by the screen reader that I then send back to the instructor and to the math faculty who did the conversion. They listen to it because they're actually math people and I'm not. They can tell me if that's actually reading out the way that it should be. So if they get the recording back and hey, everything is reading out like it should be, great. We go ahead and we send that alternative format back to the student, we're done. If there is some more tweaks need to be made, we go back to step number 4. We make the tweaks to the text source document, we reconvert, we do it again. We actually just had our first opportunity to do this process for a student this last week. And we worked with the instructor, we converted a calculus exam to the HTML plus MathML, worked on the first try, and we were able to share that. Hi.
So, Aaron, we're running out of time. Do you want to get to the,
Oh my gosh, 3:55.
the other?
Yes. Let me just show you this one next section real quick, if you want to pull up graphs and audio. Here is where we talk about multiple means of representing math content in an LMS. So we've got 3 different ways of providing these charts. So there's the visual way. You can actually see the charts themselves. We then have a text description underneath that describes that. There is alternative text attached to the image, but the alt text on the image is actually rather short. We want everybody to be able to use that long text description. And then we have an audio version of these charts. All 3 of these mediums were created with one single application, a free application created by NASA. It's called Mathjax. It created these charts, it created those alt descriptions, and it created these audio versions. So Marlene, let's go ahead and let's play the linear line with a positive slope.
I'm just going to play the last one, Aaron, for the sake of time.
Okay,
That works
that's
for
the
you.
crazy one. Go for it.
Crazy one. We haven't tried this on his computer here. And these are not, I don't know if these are going to play, Aaron, because they're not fully embedded.
Oh, boo.
Um,
Blaming it on your computer, Anna.
yeah, it's saying the stream's not found. But
Okay,
anyway.
well, so essentially what it does is you're seeing this chart going up and down and up and down and up and down. And so you would hear like it making the sound of it going up and it going down. And so you can kind of tell just by listening to that, get an overall feel for how that's done. That particular image was generated from a data set, a .csv file. But with Mathjax, you can actually insert equations, specify the variable values, create the charts, and it will create those descriptions and sonified versions for you.
And we actually had a face-to-face summer workshop with some K-12 teachers on UDL, and I took the Photoshop image of the parabola over to the 3D printer guy in our library, and he actually made the tactile object for us too that we could show in a face-to-face environment. So it's 3:57. Remember, we're looking for volunteers. Yeah, great. We'd love to have all of you.
Did everybody just raise their hand just now?
We really, really value your feedback. So, and if you can't make that June 4-week course, you're welcome into any of the regular MOOCs. We should open it up for questions now for the whole group. Let me just pull up our contact information.
Do you want to run the microphone to whoever asks a question?
Yeah, are there any questions?
Sorry, so Aaron, was that called Mathjax?
Yep.
Yeah, the software we were using, the free software to generate those graphs was Mathjax, Mathtrax. And if you do a Google search, you'll find that. And the controls are really intuitive to use. Betty.
So once you go through the MOOC and you complete it, there's a certificate of completion. Who does that come from? Blackboard, corporate, or?
Great question. So the question is about the certificate of completion. We are going to have two certificates, one for people who just complete the MOOC. You know, they're with us for 4 weeks and they do some of the activities. We don't want to exclude anyone from getting a certificate of completion, but then the people who create the course and evaluate other people's courses and do the quizzes, just the regular assignments, they will get a full certificate of completion. And we have yet to get to that aspect of it, but we really want to give 2 levels of certificates, and we want them to be meaningful. Otherwise, you're just giving out certificates. So it's got to be a really meaningful, rigorous certificate. And we really agree with what Kari, I don't know how many of you were in Kari Goen's session this morning, but she talked about relevant, meaningful activities, and we think you can do that in a MOOC, and we're anxious to give that a test run. Other questions for Betty, Anna? All right, well, thank you very much.